one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. Thunder growls above the Alps. Rain lashes against the window as if the sky itself wanted to join the conversation. The lamp on my table trembles. I can feel the warmth of the fire wrestling with the night. I'm writing from Sils Maria, alone, feverish, nearly blind, and yet more alive than ever. My name is Friedrich Nietzsche, and if you came here expecting a peaceful, gentle philosopher, you might be disappointed. I wasn't born strong. I just spent my life falling and standing back up again, long before I understood why. Tonight, I'm not here to lull you to sleep. I'm here to wake you up. Usually, in the Sleepless Society, we speak softly about peace, beauty, and silence. But sometimes softness isn't enough. Sometimes it takes a thunderclap to make the heart beat again. I know how you feel. You're tired of being strong for everyone. You watch others move forward while you fight just to stay standing. You drown in screens, in conflicting advice, in the strange feeling that life is happening somewhere else. You want to be free, yet every day ties you down a little more. You want peace, but the whole world is screaming. And when you finally want to scream back, you post a story. I've known that feeling too. Only in my time, we called it God. Today, you call it emptiness. So tonight, let me be a bit more brutal than usual. Not to shock you, to wake you. I hear you, and I refuse to let you fall asleep in the comfort of despair. You think your problem is pain. It isn't. Your problem is that you want it gone before you've understood what it came to teach you. They taught you to run the moment it burns. But life has never healed anyone by sparing them. Look at a sword. Before it shines, it burns. Before it cuts, it melts. It's the same with you. Your suffering is a forge. It doesn't ruin you. It sharpens you. I lost everything. My health, my love, my friends, my faith. And when nothing was left, I found what can never be taken. Pain was not an obstacle. It was the doorway. Weakness was not failure. It was the beginning of transformation. I'm not here to sell you instant courage or positive thinking. I'm here to tell you my story, and maybe through it, you'll see your own. Because we walk through the same abysses, only wearing different costumes. I had mountains, you have deadlines. I had God, you have algorithms. But the vertigo, that never changed. Stay with me. Tonight, we won't flee the chaos. We'll face it. Because at the heart of every storm, a star is waiting for its turn to dance. This isn't a motivational speech. It's a confession. And if you listen closely, you might hear your own breath through mine. I'll tell you how I lost everything and why that's when I finally began to live. So sit down, breathe, and listen. Because the fall, mine and yours, begins now. Welcome to the Sleepless Society, the place where we laugh at our dramas, philosophize in our socks, and turn insomnia into lanterns. If you stay, promise me just one thing. Don't fall asleep too soon. The truth is coming. The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. Thus spoke Zarathustra. There was a time when I thought I could outthink pain, when I believed that the mind, sharp, relentless, disciplined, could climb above human weakness. I was wrong. Intelligence doesn't lift you above the world. It just makes you fall from higher up. My fall began quietly. First, there were the migraines. days of blinding light, where even the sun felt like an insult. Then came the nausea, the trembling, the insomnia. I started to fear the morning because it only brought proof that I had survived another night. I was 34 and already felt centuries old. I tried to keep teaching. I stood in front of my students, quoting the Greeks with a shaking voice, pretending that knowledge was still power, but my hands trembled when I wrote on the blackboard. I couldn't finish sentences. I remember one day collapsing halfway through a lecture on tragedy and thinking, ironically, that I had just become one. When my body refused to keep up, I turned to my mind, that faithful accomplice. I thought, fine, if I can't live like other men, I'll think deeper than them. I'll live through ideas. But the more I thought, the more I realized that thought itself is a kind of illness, an addiction that isolates you from life until you begin to study your own despair as if it were philosophy. And then, as if to test how much I could lose, life sent me love. Lou Salome, a name that still glows in my memory like a fever. I loved her with the kind of purity that only lonely men are capable of. She was brilliant, fearless, young, the future itself, and I, the philosopher of will, stood there helpless, undone by a smile. When she left, and of course she did, the silence that followed was unbearable. It wasn't jealousy or heartbreak. It was humiliation. My mind, which had conquered systems of thought, couldn't make sense of a single goodbye. After that, I left everything behind. The classrooms, the debates, the polite applause of colleagues who never understood me. I went to the mountains, to Sils Maria, the last place on earth where I could still breathe. I rented a small room, surrounded by peaks that looked like frozen gods. Up there, even the silence had weight. At first, I thought solitude would cure me. It didn't. Solitude doesn't heal you. It strips you. It takes away every distraction, every illusion, until you're face to face with the truth. And the truth was, I was broken, not because life was cruel, but because I'd spent years pretending to be invincible. Every morning I woke to the sound of the wind scraping against the shutters. I made tea, coughed blood, and wrote through the pain. My handwriting looked like the pulse of a dying man. My books sold almost nothing. The critics called me mad, egotistical, blasphemous. My friends, the few who remained, began to avoid me. I was the inconvenient mirror no one wanted to look into. And yet, between the fevers and the headaches, something strange began to happen. The quieter the world became, the louder I could hear life itself, raw, absurd, unfiltered. I realized that all my suffering was not an interruption of my path. It was the path. The pain that had emptied me out was making space for something new. You know that feeling too, don't you? That strange emptiness after failure, the silence after heartbreak, the exhaustion that makes even simple joy feel suspicious. You call it burnout, depression, anxiety. You think you're falling apart. But what if you're only molting, shedding the old skin so something honest can grow beneath? Society calls it weakness. I call it initiation. Because collapse is not death, it's transformation in disguise. The seed must crack before the sprout can appear. The heart must break before it learns to love without illusion. The ego must dissolve before the soul can breathe. At my lowest, when I could barely stand, I began to see clearly. The world below looked small, frantic, mechanical. People rushing for approval, for comfort, for the next distraction. They feared suffering because they had forgotten how to read it. Pain isn't an error. It's the alphabet of growth. I started to write differently, not for recognition, but for survival. Each line became a lifeline thrown into the void. My pen replaced my pulse. I wrote until the thoughts became physical, until they hurt less inside my skull and more on the page. And little by little, my despair began to take shape, to harden, like molten metal cooling into form. That's when I understood. Pain is not a punishment. It's the material. The universe gives you raw chaos and asks, what will you make of it? That's what I want you to see. Your failures are not proof that you're broken. They're proof that you're alive. Every time you collapse, something in you is being remade. Rougher, truer, more real. But to see it, you have to stop running from the furnace. You have to step in and trust that you'll come out forged, not destroyed. I know how hard that is. I know what it means to lose the version of yourself you worked so hard to build. But believe me, that version was only the scaffolding. The fall removes it so you can finally see the structure of who you truly are. The philosopher in me wanted to define it. The man in me simply wept. And between the two, something sacred emerged. Acceptance. The understanding that life doesn't punish or reward. It shapes. It teaches. It burns away what isn't essential until all that remains is what can endure. So yes, I fell. I fell from my health, from love, from faith, from certainty. But in that fall, I met the ground not as an enemy, but as a teacher. And that's when I knew this wasn't the end of my philosophy. It was the beginning of it. Because from that point on, every idea I wrote came straight from the fire. Every insight was born from pain made conscious. Pain, I realized, is not the question. It's the chisel. And if you dare to face it, it will carve you into something worth being. That's where my real work began, in the forge. What does not kill me makes me stronger. Twilight of the idols. It sounds simple, doesn't it? Almost like a motivational slogan. But when I wrote those words, my hands were shaking. I wasn't strong. I was barely surviving. And yet, I had begun to see something that most people never dare to face. That pain, when embraced, doesn't destroy you. It refines you. We spend our lives trying to avoid the fire. We build routines, distractions, entire religions around the hope of not getting burned. But the truth is, you cannot become who you are meant to be while staying comfortable. The forge is not optional. It is where everything false in you melts away. In Sils Maria, the wind would howl against the mountains like a living thing. I used to listen to it for hours. It felt like the earth itself was teaching me the language of resistance, the sound of pressure transforming into form. That's when I understood that strength isn't built in calm waters. It's forged in storms, in loss, in sleepless nights where you think you're finished. Every wound is a workshop, every heartbreak, a hammer, every disappointment, a strike against the metal of your soul. Most people mistake the heat for punishment, but it's not punishment, it's process. Modern life hides this truth under layers of comfort and illusion. You've been told that suffering is a malfunction, something to fix, something to medicate. Your screens promise constant pleasure. Your apps whisper, avoid pain, choose ease, stay safe. And yet, despite all this comfort, anxiety multiplies, depression deepens. Why? Because we're not built for eternal comfort. We're built to overcome. I didn't want my pain, but I learned to love it. Amor fati. Love your fate, even its wounds. Don't just accept what happens to you. Say yes to it, as if you had chosen it yourself. That is freedom. That is power. At first, I hated that idea. Why would anyone love their suffering? But one day, as I sat writing with my skull splitting open, I realized hating pain had never made it leave. Only when I stopped resisting it did it begin to change shape, from torment into teacher. I started to see meaning where before there had only been chaos. That's the secret. Pain doesn't need to vanish. It needs to evolve. It's not there to humiliate you, but to introduce you to yourself. The version of you that laughs despite the storm, that creates beauty out of disaster, that stands again when every part of you wanted to stay on the floor. That version is born in the forge. Think of metal. It resists. It screams under pressure. It melts. But if you trust the process, if you stay inside the fire long enough, you come out stronger, sharper, brighter. The sword does not resent the flame. It thanks it. So when life burns you, don't ask why me. Ask, what is this trying to make of me? You see, philosophy was never meant to be an escape from pain. It was a way to dance with it, to shape it into rhythm. My own philosophy was written in blood and migraines, in rejection and exile. Every word was an ember that refused to die. Today, people talk about resilience as if it's a lifestyle hack. Morning routines, cold showers, motivational quotes. But real resilience begins in silence. It's when you sit with the unbearable and whisper, I can stay. It's when you stop asking the world to be easier and start asking yourself to be deeper. The forge is not just for heroes. It's for anyone who dares to stop running. The single parent who holds it together every day. The teenager who hides their pain behind a smile. The man who's lost his purpose. The woman who keeps giving when no one thanks her. Each one of you carries your own furnace. You cannot skip the heat, but you can choose what it makes of you. You can let it harden you, or you can let it shape you. One closes the heart, the other opens it. I won't lie to you. The forge hurts. Transformation always does. You'll lose illusions you thought were part of you. Friendships, dreams, certainties. You'll wonder if it's worth it. But when the metal cools and you see the reflection of what you've become, it is. That's the moment you realize that life has never been your enemy. It's your blacksmith. So the next time you feel heat rising in your chest, remember this. It's not a sign of weakness. It's the beginning of strength. Stay inside the fire until it teaches you its song. Because here's the truth. Everything you admire was forged. Courage, wisdom, patience, compassion, none of them are born in ease. They're sculpted by friction, refined by resistance, tempered by time. And if you stay faithful to your fire, one day, others will look at you and see only light, not knowing what it cost to glow like that. I know it's tempting to run, to cool down before the work is done. But don't. Every time you escape the forge, you carry your unshaped pain with you, and it waits, silently, for the next chance to burn. better to walk through it once and come out transformed than to keep circling it in fear. That is the essence of amor fati, to stop bargaining with life, to say yes even to the blow that bends you, because that blow, if you let it, is shaping you into something extraordinary. I used to think philosophy was about truth. Now I know it's about endurance, about staying awake in the fire until truth appears. So if you're burning right now, don't despair. You're not being punished. You're being remade. And when the flames fade, you'll stand radiant, not because you escaped them, but because you learned to live inside them. That is strength. That is freedom. That is love of fate. But strength without laughter becomes arrogance, and I refuse to let you become another grim soldier of suffering. So before we go any further, let's hold up a mirror to our age and see what we've become. In individuals, insanity is rare, but in groups, parties, nations, and epochs, it is the rule, beyond good and evil. When I look at your world from up here in the mountains, I can't help but smile. You think you've evolved, that you're freer, wiser, more connected than those who came before. But freedom without thought is just a more comfortable kind of slavery. And from where I stand, your world looks like a herd, endlessly running, terrified of standing still. You no longer need shepherds. You've built your own. They glow in your hands every night. They feed you outrage, entertainment, validation, the modern sacraments of belonging. You used to confess to priests. Now you confess to algorithms. Every post, every like, every comment, a ritual of self-justification. The new God isn't in heaven. It's in your pocket. Don't misunderstand me. I don't despise you for it. I recognize the hunger behind it. You want to be seen, to be known, to be loved. That craving is ancient, but when everyone tries to be visible at once, light becomes noise. What you call connection is often just synchronized loneliness. You curate your lives like art exhibits, polishing every corner to hide the cracks. You perform happiness, productivity, kindness, even rebellion. You've turned virtue into branding. You don't live anymore, you advertise. And the irony is tragic. In the search for authenticity, you've become professional actors in your own lives. In my time, people feared God. In yours, they fear being irrelevant. And so, you obey the new commandments. Be liked, be shared, be seen. You build your identities out of digital applause, and then wonder why silence feels like death. But I won't mock you too harshly. I understand. I too wanted to be understood, admired, remembered. I too was a slave to perception, the philosopher who wanted to be heard. And when no one listened, I called it solitude, when in truth it was exile. That's what the herd does to the thinker. It starves him. It rewards imitation and punishes originality. It praises conformity as morality and calls independence arrogance. But you cannot build a meaningful life out of other people's approval. Approval is a leash disguised as love. When I wrote about the last men, I imagined a world where comfort would replace courage and pleasure would become the new truth. I didn't realize how accurate that prophecy would be. The last man no longer believes in God, but he worships his own reflection. He no longer fears hell, only the loss of attention. I see you scrolling through endless feeds, trying to find a pulse, a spark, a reason to care. The herd keeps you entertained, but not awake. It gives you belonging, but not purpose. You're surrounded by millions, yet lonelier than ever. Because real belonging requires difference, and difference in your world is dangerous. You call it cancel culture. I call it mass obedience. The crowd that applauds you today will crucify you tomorrow, not out of conviction, but out of boredom. They don't hate you. They just need a new spectacle. The herd always does. And yet, I don't want you to despise the herd either. They are not your enemies. They are your mirrors. They reflect what you fear most, being alone with yourself. It's easy to mock the masses, much harder to face the part of you that still wants to belong to them. The part that whispers, "If I stand apart, will anyone still love me?" I asked myself that question too, and the answer came in silence. No, not everyone will love you, but those who do will love something real. You see, courage isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the strength to stop running with the crowd, to think your own thoughts even when they hurt, to sit in silence without reaching for distraction. It's not glamorous, but it's freedom. So, when I speak of the herd, I don't mean them. I mean us. The part of me that wanted to be accepted, the part of you that fears being forgotten. Every one of us carries a small herd inside, that inner voice that says, "Don't stand out, don't risk it, don't be different." But the moment you listen to that voice, you trade your life for safety. Break that trade. Step out. Walk alone for a while. You'll feel exposed at first, like a flame in the wind. But the air outside the herd is pure. It's frightening. And it's yours. And remember this. The world will always call the independent soul insane, because he no longer dances to their rhythm. But I would rather be mad in solitude than sane in a crowd that's sleepwalking. So laugh a little at the madness of the age. Forgive it, but don't join it. The herd will always exist. Let it run. Your task is not to follow. Your task is to wake up. Because understanding the problem isn't enough. You can't just see the herd. You must leave it. You must dare to burn, to stand apart, to face the discomfort of freedom. Understanding isn't enough. Now you must dare. Let's jump into the fire together and see what remains. You must burn in your own flame. How could you rise anew if you have not first become ashes? Thus spoke Zarathustra. Every philosophy is a confession. Mine was written from the inside of a fever. There was a night when I felt my mind splitting open, as if a god was chiseling words into my skull. I was pacing the small room in Sils Maria, dizzy, exhausted, and yet wide awake, staring into the abyss I had spent years describing. It wasn't poetic. It was terrifying. That's what the fire feels like. Not a symbol, not a metaphor, a real burning. When the soul begins to melt, when every belief turns liquid, and you no longer know which part of you will survive the night. People like to romanticize transformation. They imagine it as light, revelation, transcendence. It isn't. Transformation begins in the dark, with the sound of your own screaming. It's the moment when the mind finally admits that it's not in control. I fought it at first. Every philosopher does. I tried to reason with the pain, to analyze it, to turn it into an idea I could survive. But pain doesn't care for logic. It demands surrender. It says, stop explaining. Feel. And so I stopped thinking and started breathing. Each breath, a small act of rebellion. The air hurt my chest, but it was proof that I was still here. That's how transformation begins. not with understanding, but with endurance. Now I want you to try something with me, just for a moment. Sit up straight, unclench your jaw, let your shoulders drop. Take a deep breath in, hold it, and as you exhale, imagine all the noise leaving your body. Every fear, every deadline, every anxious little ghost whispering that you're not enough. Let it go. Good. Do it again. This time, slower. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Listen to the sound of it. That's your fire. Gentle now, but alive. The same flame that has destroyed you before can warm you if you learn how to breathe inside it. I had to learn that too. My breakdown wasn't a single event. It was a slow unmaking. My body, my identity, my beliefs, everything was dissolving. But somewhere in the collapse, I found clarity. The pain didn't vanish. It became transparent. I could finally see through it. You don't need to be a philosopher to understand this. Anyone who's ever faced themselves knows what I mean. The addict in recovery, the parent losing a child, the lover abandoned, the person sitting alone at 3 a.m., wondering how they got here. You don't need to read Zarathustra to meet your own fire. Life will introduce you eventually. Modern people like to call it shadow work, or therapy, or healing. They talk about exposure therapy, cold immersion, facing trauma. But the truth behind all those words is ancient and brutally simple. To be reborn, you must burn. You can numb your pain for a while, with distractions, with noise, with pretending. But the body remembers, the heart remembers, and one day, all the buried embers ignite at once. That's what happened to me. I had no choice but to step into the fire. And do you know what I discovered there? Nothing mystical, just truth. That I wasn't as noble as I thought. That I had hurt others while chasing perfection. That I wasn't made of ideas. I was made of fear, pride, longing, and fragile hope. That's what burns first. The illusions. The lies you tell yourself to stay comfortable. Once they're gone, what remains is simple, bare, beautiful. You begin to see that the very things you ran from, grief, loneliness, rejection, are the same forces that polish the soul until it shines. The fire doesn't take what's essential, it reveals it. And in that moment, I laughed. Not the laugh of arrogance or madness, the laugh of recognition. The kind that comes when you realize that you've been running from yourself your whole life, and suddenly there's nowhere left to run. I laughed because the fire that once terrified me had become my teacher. It showed me that freedom isn't the absence of pain. It's the ability to walk through it without losing your song. So when I tell you to burn, I'm not asking you to suffer more. I'm asking you to stop running, to face the flame long enough to understand it. Because every pain you avoid comes back disguised as fate. But every pain you confront becomes strength. Try this. Think of one thing that still hurts. A memory, a failure, a word that still echoes. Picture it like a coal in your hand. Now breathe in. Don't drop it. Don't run. Just look at it. Feel its heat. It can't destroy you. It's too small. But it can forge you if you let it. That's how you rise from ashes. Not by pretending the fire never happened, but by carrying its warmth forward. I don't pretend that it's easy. Transformation isn't elegant. It's messy, humiliating, exhausting. But it's real. It's the only process that leaves you both lighter and stronger. The truth doesn't comfort. It cleanses. In the end, that's what saved me. Not faith, not philosophy, but fire. The kind that reduces everything to essence. The kind that teaches you to breathe again. So, if you're standing in the flames right now, trembling, unsure if you'll make it out, don't look for a way out. Look for a way through. Because when you come out the other side, you'll realize that what burned away wasn't you. It was everything that was never you to begin with. Now that the fire has passed through you, it's time to rebuild, calmly, honestly, from the ashes. Become who you are. The gay science. When the flames finally faded, I found myself surrounded by silence. Not the cold, heavy silence of despair, but a living, breathing stillness. The kind that hums softly in your bones after the storm has passed. For the first time in years, I wasn't fighting life. I was listening to it. I realized something simple, something embarrassingly obvious. I had been trying to become everyone but myself. The teacher, the lover, the genius, the prophet. All masks I'd crafted to be admired. And yet none of them had survived the fire. What remained was small, quiet, human, but it was real. That's what I mean by become who you are. Not an invitation to build some heroic version of yourself. The world already worships enough statues. It means stripping away everything that isn't essential until you can finally recognize your own reflection without flinching. In that stillness, I began to practice a new kind of philosophy, not of ideas, but of gestures, small, ordinary acts that root you back into existence. Each morning, before I wrote a word, I made myself a cup of tea. I would sit by the window, watching the fog dissolve over the mountains. Then I'd write just one honest sentence. Not profound, not clever, just true. Sometimes it was, I'm lonely. Sometimes I'm grateful. Sometimes nothing at all. Honesty became my only prayer. Then I'd walk. No destination, no book in hand, no notes to take, just walking, listening to the rhythm of my steps, the whisper of the wind, the slow, stubborn beating of my heart. Without distraction, the world became intimate again. I could feel the pulse of life in every stone, every gust, every trembling leaf. At night, I developed another ritual. Before sleeping, I would thank one pain, a memory, a failure, a loss. I'd whisper to it like an old friend, "You were cruel, but you taught me." Gratitude is not denial. It's the art of reclaiming what once broke you. And when the weight of seriousness grew too heavy, I laughed. At myself mostly. At my pretensions, my grand philosophies, my endless search for meaning. There is something profoundly healing in laughter. It dissolves the ego faster than tragedy ever could. Try it. Laugh softly at your own absurdity. You'll feel lighter instantly. These small acts rebuilt me more than all the books I'd ever written. They reminded me that strength doesn't roar. It breathes. It observes. It endures without performance. True power is quiet lucidity, the ability to stay awake in a world that numbs itself with noise. You live in a time that worships busyness. Productivity has replaced purpose. You measure worth in output, not in depth. But you can't create yourself while you're constantly distracted. Creation requires space, a pause long enough to hear your soul speak again. So let me offer you something simple, something that saved me when nothing else did. Write one honest sentence every morning. Walk without headphones. Thank one pain before bed. Laugh at your own absurdity. And create, even if no one sees it. Especially if no one sees it. Because creation without audience is the purest form of freedom. It's how you remind yourself that your life is not a performance, but a dialogue between you and existence. It doesn't matter what you make, a poem, a melody, a garden, a meal. What matters is that you make it with sincerity, that every gesture, however small, is an act of affirmation. Yes, I am here. Yes, this is enough. You don't need to be special. You need to be present. It took me half a lifetime to understand that happiness isn't a goal. It's a byproduct of integrity, the peace that comes from no longer pretending. When the inner voice and the outer life finally align, something magical happens. The noise fades, and you begin to feel whole. We spend years chasing perfection, the perfect job, the perfect partner, the perfect version of ourselves. But perfection is a mirage. It moves the closer you get. Life isn't asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to participate, to walk honestly, to love imperfectly, to laugh in the face of your own contradictions. That's what it means to become. Not to reach an end, but to stay awake in the middle of the journey. So don't rush to fix yourself. You're not broken. You're unfinished. Take your time. Let the world shape you gently. Trust that what you're becoming is already inside you, waiting for permission to bloom. And remember, the person you're meant to be isn't hiding somewhere out there. They're waiting behind the things you refuse to release, the expectations, the masks, the fear of being ordinary. Let them go. When you finally stop pretending, when you stop striving to be someone else's idea of greatness, something unexpected appears. Peace. I want to learn more and more to see as beautiful what is necessary in things. Then I shall be one of those who makes things beautiful. The gay science. The night has lifted. The storm that once clawed at the windows is gone, leaving only the clean, fragile quiet that follows a confession. I open the shutters, and the first light spills across the peaks of Sils Maria. The mountains look almost shy in the dawn, enormous, yet humbled by the touch of sunlight. The air is cold, alive. It tastes like forgiveness. After everything, this is what remains: stillness. Not the numb kind that comes from exhaustion, but a deeper calm. The kind that comes after you've stopped arguing with life. I used to think peace was the reward for struggle. Now I know it's what begins when you stop fighting reality. I stand there for a long while, watching the world wake. The mist curls and fades. The snow catches fire with gold, and I realize that even the volcano, once violent and wild, eventually learns to cradle life in its ashes. The peace I searched for all my life wasn't hiding in the silence. It was hiding in the chaos, waiting for me to stop resisting it. To say yes to life completely, even to its pain, even to its cruelty, that is freedom. That is what I mean by amor fati. Love your fate. Not selectively, not conditionally, not only when it's kind. Love it because it's yours, because every scar is proof that you've lived honestly. When you reach that point, gratitude comes naturally. You stop asking why things happened the way they did, and you start whispering thank you for the way they shaped you. You thank the heartbreak that broke your illusions, the failure that humbled your pride, the solitude that forced you to meet yourself. You even thank the pain that once felt unbearable, because without it, you would still be asleep. Peace is not the absence of chaos. It's the ability to walk through it with your eyes open, to breathe amid uncertainty and still say yes. It's not about escaping storms. It's about learning to dance in their rhythm. And when you finally do, something beautiful happens. You stop trying to control the world. You start to participate in it. You stop demanding explanations and start living the questions. You stop needing life to make sense and start realizing it already does. The calm that follows is lighter than joy, quieter than happiness. It's the deep, quiet gratitude of being here, still standing, still breathing, still capable of wonder. I close my notebook. The fire has burned low, just embers now. I can hear the world moving outside, a bird, a distant bell, the faint hum of life continuing without permission. I smile. Everything that tried to destroy me became part of my story. Everything I feared to face turned out to be the teacher I needed most. And all the chaos I once cursed, it was never chaos at all. It was creation in disguise. If you've made it this far, you already know. You don't find peace by running away. You find it by walking straight into your own volcano and discovering there's light inside. So tell me, which wound will you turn into strength? If tonight shook you awake, welcome to the Sleepless Society. We don't sell sleep, we light lanterns. Tell me in the comments, which wound are you turning into strength? And if someone you love is walking through their own fire, send this to them. Maybe it will remind them they're not alone. Pull a chair to the fire and stay a little longer. The next storm is already brewing.